AIs and ChatGPT are changing everything, and that also comes from college students. In a previous video, we shared the basic tips on how to use it, but it's time we go one step further and see how much it can write an entire argumentative paper on its own. Hi, I'm Santiago from Great Hacker, the non-technical students' #1 resource. We know that ChatGPT can be a tricky tool, and while we think it's far from being ready to write flawless papers from scratch, we recognize how valuable it can be. As a team of academic tutors, we see that if well used, AI can be a great way to kick off the essay writing process and give us a starting point for us to later edit and improve on our own. That's why today we'll be doing a little experiment. We'll give ChatGPT a prompt and see what the first draft can give us. Now, we are aware of the different problems we can get, like plagiarism, lack of sources, and incorrect information. That's why, instead of sticking with that initial paper, we'll review it and continue using the AI to polish everything until we get the best work that ChatGPT can. It's kind of an experiment, but it also works like a tutorial, as you'll understand the reasoning behind each tip and how to make the best use of the AI. In the near future, we'll go over the same process with a book review and a research paper, so you better subscribe to our channel. Plus, you get to see all the amazing tips we already had, and we'll continue sharing. With that said, let's take a look at our prompt. Our goal is to get a 5-page paper that focuses on structural racism in the American healthcare system, how African Americans accessed it during COVID, and what can be done to fix these issues. It's a pretty specific topic, and if you want to see more like this, be sure to watch our video. The essay needs to have an introduction with a clear thesis statement, a coherent body with strong argument, solutions, and one counter-argument, and a conclusion that restates the main point. Let's see what ChatGPT can do with this. After writing our prompt, the AI wrote almost 2.5 pages, which was half of what we had requested. Still, the first result didn't look that bad. We got an introduction that goes straight to the point. The problem is that it doesn't include a clear thesis statement. It's written down below and it's broad and lacks factual evidence or statistics to support it. Then in the body, ChatGPT listed multiple issues related to the topic, but these were never fully explained or had evidence to support them. For example, the first paragraph talks about poorer health outcomes compared to other racial groups, and that's it. Here we have a clear opportunity to add statistics and examples to prove this statement is true. Something we weren't expecting was that the AI created a study conducted by the Kaiser Family Foundation to back up important data. However, it wasn't cited properly and had a few mistakes. The first draft listed 11% of African Americans and 6% of non-Hispanic whites as uninsured in 2019, while the original article shows slightly different statistics. Still, the biggest problem is that that same article had more recent information from 2021, which would have been a better choice. Then, ChatGPT addressed other issues, but once again without sources to support them. And the same happens when it starts developing the thesis statement on how these issues could be fixed. But we do need to say that it gave us a solid and cohesive list of different arguments we could write about. The biggest issue we found in the first draft is that the AI completely forgot to address a counter-argument. So, what can we do to fix these problems? First of all, we asked ChatGPT to write about each section one command at a time. Instead of giving the entire prompt as a whole, we asked it to focus on the different parts of the essay. Plus, we took the different issues and arguments and saw if it could develop them more in depth. After a while, we got our second draft, which was way better. We got tons of paragraphs that covered over 7 pages. But if we remove repetitions and unnecessary introductions, we have a final product closer to our requested length. Let's have a closer look at it. The introduction stayed pretty much the same, but now the thesis statement is stronger and even has cited statistics to back it up. But while the information is correct, the source isn't. Clearly, the link included in the reference took us to a non-existing page, and after looking for that data on Google, we found that it actually belonged to a study from the National Library of Medicine. Moving on, ChatGPT now did a solid job expanding on the issues, but again, while some sources were useful, sometimes the information reflected in the text didn't correspond. For example, when citing a KFF article to evidence the importance of transportation as a critical factor, we don't find any mention of that issue when we go to the site. On the same note, when addressing the higher rate of infection and death compared to white Americans, once again it's citing the wrong source, as the statistics come from different articles than the one created. And sometimes the information displayed was incorrect. In that same section, we're listing the percentages of deaths in specific states, We see in the cited source that the statistics don't match. However, what's interesting is that if we search for that data on Google, we find a different study that does reflect this information. So even if ChatGPT didn't include inaccurate information in the text, it failed to properly acknowledge the real source. This problem of having correct information but citing a different source continued throughout the paper. How did it expand the solutions on counter arguments? Well, this time we received more extensive arguments with supporting evidence for each case. But as we were expecting, the statistics were real, but the source created wasn't original and didn't mention anything related to what was included in the text. And it wasn't any different with the counter argument. For instance, regarding telehealth services, it recognized the multiple barriers it will take for low-income areas to adopt this modality. It created an article posted in the KKF written by Gillespie, but after searching for the information, we see that the original study was conducted by other people. Still, the fact that ChatGPT now provided us with multiple data on information we could use to develop counter-arguments and later refute them is excellent. And for last, a critical factor. Letters. Were there any? The good news is that no. After running everything through our plagiarism checker, it only found a few parts that had duplicated content, but before sentences composed of commonly used sentences in articles about different topics. For example, multiple times it recognized as plagiarism phrases like according to the CDC or according to a report by the Kaiser Family Foundation. And even these plagiarism issues could be easily solved by rearranging the orders or adding new words. Checking for plagiarism a critical part of the essay rating process, so be sure to watch our list of the best plagiarism checkers if you aren't using one. So, what did we learn from this experience? First of all, ChatGPT will do a better job if you write one command at a time. It develops more in each section and includes more information. Now, while it can give you accurate information related to the issue, solutions, counter-argument, it's likely that the source credit isn't the real one. Meaning you'll have to take care of this and look for the information in Google to find the correct source. Finally, the paragraphs can have duplicative content among themselves, but mostly they don't appear to have plagiarism issues. Clearly, ChatGPT can't write an argumentative paper on its own, but we did all of this in less than an hour and got solid ideas, strong arguments, statistics, and a starting structure to base our essay. Still, there is a lot of work on our end to continue. If you really want to see what other tips you need to have in mind when writing an argumentative paper, be sure to watch our quick tutorial. And if you still haven't seen the ChatGPT basics, go ahead and check them out. As we told you at the beginning, we have a great tip for your college life. So don't waste your time and subscribe to our channel. And if you're going to use what we learned today, share in the comments how it was to rest. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.